Good morning and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our guest this morning is Dr. Marwa Kalani, who is a palliative care doctor. And welcome. It's good to have you again.
Thank you.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been
It seems
few
like
months,
it anyway.
At least, yes. But
Well,
it's always fun to be here.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you for
yeah.
welcoming me.
We have a great show. We really do.
I know, it's so much
Maybe
fun.
it's because I'm on it. Why not? Why not brag a little? Anyway, what is palliative care? Palliative is a strange word.
It sure is. And I was doing a lecture yesterday at Providence Holy Cross, and I was surprised that I saw a few people who actually responded that they knew what palliative care was. And so that makes me feel good, because that means that maybe, word's getting out and people are starting to understand what palliative is. But palliative care is a medical specialty that provides specialized services to look at individuals who have serious illness. And those serious illnesses could be anything from, of course, any types of cancer, advanced lung disease, heart disease, liver disease, as well as dementia, Parkinson's, and also really reflects upon the patient as an individual rather than just looking at them through the disease process. So it's trying to look through the disease and the illness at the patient directly and trying to help the patient with their pain and symptoms, providing them support, and it's done with a team. So palliative care is not done by an individual doctor, it's done by a nurse, a physician, social worker, chaplain, therapist, and we all work together as a team.
Okay, do you go to the individual's home to visit?
Yes, palliative care can be provided in the home setting, and there's community palliative care programs. Providence does have one, and it's quite accomplished and very well established. But our palliative care service is in the hospital at Holy Cross, and just about 80% of hospitals in California have a palliative program in some form or another. But at our hospital, we have a fully developed palliative care service.
Now, does anyone in your group make home visits?
We're part of this larger network under Providence. For instance, every hospital in the Southern California region in Providence. So there's 6 hospitals in the greater Los Angeles area, and there's some down in the Orange County area, but the Los Angeles area has 6 hospitals.
Wow.
Yes. So it goes all the way from San Pedro, and there's also Little Company Mary in Torrance.
I've heard of Little Company of Mary.
Yes.
I don't know where.
So they have San Pedro and Torrance facilities. Then we also have St. John's, which is in Santa Monica. And then we have the 3 Valley hospitals, Tarzana, Providence St. Joseph, which is in Burbank, and Holy Cross. And the region really covers all the way up to Santa Clarita, and Santa Clarita services are outfitted by outpatient services, Facey Medical Group, in addition to urgent care facilities, and all of the home health and home-based services such as hospice and palliative care.
Okay.
So palliative care can be available to any persons with serious illness in their home.
Wow.
In that region. It's great.
Yeah, it is.
Good
Yes.
house call.
Yes.
Oh, there he is.
There's the one and only house call doctor.
That's correct.
I think your brother does it, doesn't he?
That's correct.
Yes, he
We
does.
both do.
And that's few and far between.
I know.
I wish it would become more localized and more doctors would consider doing it.
Just in general, not just for palliative care, but
No,
just
but in
In
general.
general.
But I think in medicine we will strive to have way more house call physicians because I believe we will shift from care in the hospital and in the office to where, especially with our seniors, they'll need care in their home. And we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do that in an economic way and a way that's efficient. And it's going to go in that direction. I think other countries around the world have figured out that by doing house calls and allowing their patients to be in their homes, give them a greater satisfaction, one. Secondly, it allows the physician to be able to know the patient better.
I absolutely
And when it comes to
agree.
palliative and hospice care, where else would a patient want to be other than home?
I totally agree. I remember when I was in my 20s, this is like 20 years ago.
Last year?
20
You're
years
getting
ago.
to be an
thank
old
you.
lady, aren't you?
I know. Starting to feel the aches and pains myself. And I was staying with some relatives in Paris. And we celebrated New Year's Eve, and we had oysters, and I got really sick.
Uh-oh.
And I had a home visit from a physician that next day, in fact. And it couldn't have been more rewarding and simpler. Rather than having to get me up, go to the hospital or to some type of clinic setting. And it was wonderful and was able to treat me right then and there, right in my home. Or
Well, you know,
my family's home.
I remember I came to the States in 1947 with my parents, but I was 10 and a half years old. And I remember having measles, whooping cough, and chicken pox. And when I had whooping cough, I was so sick. And the coughing, I felt like my throat was going to come out, you know. But each time, Dr. Lobo, he was an Indian doctor, and he wore a turban. And I'll never forget him as long as I live, because he was such a sweet man. You know, he'd pat me on the arm and say, "You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right," you know. And I don't remember him giving me any shots. I don't think shots were around. But anytime we were sick, he would come to the house to visit. And it's like you say, Dr. Dorio, you get to see the whole picture
Yes,
when you visit
do.
patients in the home.
Absolutely.
You know, you really do. You get to see if there's any dust on the tables or any stuff on the floor that you can fall over.
Absolutely.
You know, I just wish more doctors would do it. I really do.
You know, people
It's a
think
shame.
they think that the doctors think that they're invading one's privacy. But, you know, I even have the gall to go to the refrigerator and open the refrigerators to look in to make sure that they have enough food there.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, patients are not insulted by it, you know. And, you know, sometimes I will tell them that, you know, the cat and the dog food has to be a little bit more separate from their food. And sometimes that happens for sanitary reasons. But, you know, otherwise, you know, it gives you a different viewpoint as to how your patient is doing. So often patients will come into the office and the doctor's list will be there, but you're not seeing everything that
No.
the patient might be taking. When you go to the home, you know, it's all there. It's all there for you to make sure that the patient is taking it. And you can even, you know, when they're organized enough, you can even sometimes tell when the patient has been compliant
Absolutely.
in taking the drugs. And, you know, it's way more than that. It's assuring that they're remaining hydrated, especially with this kind of weather we're having right now, that their nutrition is good, that the sanitation is good, that, you know, and they're being treated okay as well, because there's a lot of clues that one gets when, you know, they're looking at how our seniors live. But when it coming back to palliative care, though, I think it's important as palliative care doctors and hospice doctors that and nurses that they see who that patient was in life,
Absolutely.
how they contributed to society, and making sure that they're given the respect and the dignity that they deserve. And a lot of times in a office setting, that just doesn't happen. You
No.
don't know who the patient is, where they're coming from, what they've done. And I think it's important as we're treating our patients, that we have that kind of respect for, you know, who they are and what they've done.
Yeah, it's a very unique perspective to be able to make a visit in the home setting. And it speaks volumes. As Dr. Dorio was mentioning, it really does, and puts everything into perspective. But it also helps to contribute to that interdisciplinary approach as well, and to really look at the patient as a person, because this is their home, this is their environment, and it puts it all into perspective. It's quite a impressive and also a very intimate process to be able to visit somebody in their home setting.
When you have a pediatrician who sees kids and you see them in the office, and that, that's fine. Dr. Lobo saw you at home, and that was great. But, pediatricians might be a different story, just because they're, a lot of kids get sick, and, you want to make sure that they're okay, and you don't, because there's so many kids relative to pediatricians, having an office is fine. But for our seniors who have mobility problems, who have memory problems, who, you just don't know what quite is going on, a house call, it just makes a huge difference. But I think we're heading in that direction. So I'm not too worried. I can't say that in 5 years it will be in vogue, or 25 years it'll be in vogue. But I've been doing it for 30 years, and I thought that at that time, and it's still not in vogue. So so I think we just have to wait on that for society to understand what we're going to need. But I think I've seen the perspective of being able to know and understand how patients live, and because of that, I think it's allowed me to be a better doctor in terms of treating them.
Oh, absolutely. I totally believe in that. Because you see more of the picture of the person and his or her life, and whether they have children coming in, spouses, or whatever. You get to see that and maybe converse with them also. But you do. I think you get to see a bigger picture, because a patient at home is a lot different from a patient who goes to a doctor's office. And I think sometimes they might bend the truth a little bit and say, "Oh, I'm fine. Nothing wrong
They
with me."
want to paint a nice picture.
That's right. That's right. But when a doctor goes into the home, they sometimes see a very, very different picture. I agree with you, Jean. I think more doctors need to do it. I really do.
Yeah.
Especially those like you who treat the elderly.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
I think
And we have a doctor shortage, and that's one of our big problems now in our society, and we're trying to rectify that rapidly. I write articles on that, and of course, one recent one, I said that we need to find a better source for bringing more doctors in, and I pointed to experienced nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, physician assistants, who are already committed to healthcare and the health profession, and allowing them to do a accelerated 2-year medical school course, because they already know the physiology. They're done with that. They just need to start understanding how to, instead of taking orders, giving orders, which in itself is a learning process. But we need to find ways for us to increase the numbers, because I do think artificially the number of doctors was kept down. Supply and demand. If there's not enough doctors, then you're in demand and you can make more money. I think that was the ongoing philosophy by medical organizations, and it's now going to take its toll. So we need to start looking for sources. And, I think, in writing the article, I got a lot of pushback on it, because people said inferior care. And I went, wait a second.
What?
Yeah. Well, people were claiming, and they were, the first people that wrote in were doctors back to me, and they said inferior care. And they were guys too. And I wrote back and I said, well, what if it's being done at Stanford or Harvard? And if indeed we can get this to catch on, we can educate, I believe, people in 2 years to do the job, to take care of patients in our country. We need to find a way to do it. I think right now, I think that we're being chinced out of good medical care in this country, because, that senior patient who, has trouble getting to the car, let alone into the office. They get there, they've taken their sweater off, and thank you for your visit today, ma'am, and see you later. 5 minutes later, that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
We can't
No,
do
it
that
doesn't.
anymore. We have to have more doctors in house calls. We have to have more people doing office, and and those in the hospital as well. We have to find a better way for citizens of this country to get good health care and be able to pay for it too, because the complaints are out there as well. How do you pay for something like this? Well, the people in other countries have figured this out. They know how to do it. They're spending less on health care relative to their gross domestic product than we are. We're up at 17.5% for years and years and years.
I know, it's
Whereas
ridiculous.
almost, I think every country in the world is less than 10%.
Yes.
And I think Medicare runs on 3 to 5%, somewhere in there. And of course, we can point our fingers in different directions about that 17.5%. But I know, and you and I both know, that the doctors have been paid less and less, especially our colleagues in surgery.
Yeah,
they used
dramatically.
to get paid. They used to be paid for their hip replacements, and now, really, if you knew what our doctors get for hip replacements and even brain surgery, you'd be flabbergasted relative to what others in the community, plumbers, mechanics, and those that also get paid. And you would feel, well, they're saving somebody's life or changing their quality of life. And, doctors aren't being paid, but you wonder, okay, if the payments are decreasing, then where is that? Why is that 17.5% cost still up there? And it comes because of profit.
Yep.
Because the CEOs of hospitals and insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies are making their money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I look at palliative and hospice care, and I've written an article on that too, and I worry sometimes, is this just a ploy? I think healthcare in our final years costs a lot. And I think many of our patients have decided that they don't want all this care. They
Right.
don't want all this intervention. They don't want certain surgeries. They want their quality of life, but the costs are extremely high. And I think insurance companies and everybody else realizes that too, and they're trying to push them into an arena of palliative or hospice care, and maybe sometimes they shouldn't be. So there's a dynamic juggling act going on out there, which I think is unfortunate, because our patients are in the middle of this, and there are financial goals that certain people have that are ripping our patients off, and that needs to be judged and questioned as well as what we do as palliative and hospice doctors. So, I think it's important that a discussion takes place early in one's life. And, we're not talking about 89 years old. We're talking
No.
about at 50 years old, you should be sitting down with your family, your doctor, and maybe your attorney to say, what do I want in life, and how am I going to handle life? My kids are now grown up, and I've settled their and paid for their college education. Now I'm looking toward retirement. But what do I want? How do I want to live? Do I want to live in my home, or am I going to go to a nursing home? And how aggressive should my care be? And that discussion, it doesn't always take place. And when you
Right.
have 5 minutes to take your sweater off, put it back on, where's that discussion going to happen?
Right. And that's the value of palliative care, is being able to spend that time with the patients and families in having those discussions, because it is really more a time-based specialty rather than just managing a certain disease process or checking off a box as to whether they've accomplished some health maintenance issue. So that's the nice thing about palliative, is that you can really spend time with the patients and families, getting to know who they are, what they value, what defines quality, and then trying to match up treatments to who that patient is. So that's the nice thing. One of the things that I do appreciate about the work that we all are trying to do is we're trying to find ways of, we're brainstorming here. We're trying to find ways of helping our country and also meet the needs of our citizens. And it's a constant struggle, and we need to start brainstorming. We need smart individuals like Dr. Dorio and Barbara to help us figure out what are other ways that we can get around this crisis, because it is a crisis. We're living longer. We're living with more disease.
That's right.
And
That's
it's
right.
just going to cost our country more. We need to figure this out.
Well, is the cup half full or half empty, and it's a tough thing to call, but as we all of us have lived within a system that we see creating problems around the country, I look at, I had said, is it somebody's personal economic motivation that's making them do certain things? And when it comes to the laws and the rules that are made in this country, it comes from government. And you have to ask the question, how are the votes influenced by government? And they certainly are affected by groups of companies that are saying, give to us first and then the citizens come second. And of course, I disagree with that. My major solution to the healthcare laws that will be up and coming in our Congress is the first thing that we should probably do. We should tell our legislators, for whatever law they make, that they have to live under those same laws. They cannot.
Good luck.
Good
They
luck.
cannot have a separate system
That's true.
Of healthcare, because if they are living under the same laws that they make for us, then they'll make a concerted effort to assure us that it will be done correctly.
A good example of that is our county supervisors or our county employees. If they had gone to a county hospital such as all of you or USC or down in Harbor in the South Bay, I'm sure they would be shocked to see the type of care that those folks are receiving. So you're absolutely right. So I think that these are things that really need to be examined.
Yeah, but we all say it's a good idea, but the problem is that nobody's doing it. Nobody's standing out in front of their offices and they're picketing at specific concerns, but just get to the bottom line. If they're living under the same law as the rest of us, then you can probably be assured that they're going to make a good law.
Oh, they would. They would definitely.
But
that's
right now
not
they're
the
not.
case.
It's
That's not the case right now.
Well, let's make them.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think we should have an uprising, or maybe even a picket.
Yeah.
Jean and I are well aware of what pickets
Big-time
do.
picketers.
Yes. We need to take a break. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
It's allergy season again. You've tried it all, yet your sinuses continue to be a problem. Try something different, something holistic, something that will really work. Acupuncture. Kathleen Keneally is Santa Clarita's acupuncture innate specialist. She's been treating many of your neighbors and their children for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and pain. Find out how acupuncture can improve the quality of your life. Call Kathleen Keneally for a free phone consultation. 252-4100. 252-4100. Acupuncture. It really works.
City of Hope is a world leader in cancer research and treatment, and there's a City of Hope community practice location right here in Santa Clarita, eliminating a major barrier in the fight against cancer: distance to quality care. Santa Clarita benefits from City of Hope's compassionate care and renowned clinical expertise. We offer many services at our Santa Clarita location, including medical and surgical oncology, infusion therapy, and chemotherapy. Our City of Hope Santa Clarita physicians maintain a close relationship with your primary care physician to ensure you receive the best care. City of Hope Santa Clarita is conveniently located, has world-class physicians, and accepts a wide variety of insurance plans. To learn more, visit cityofhope.org/Santa Clarita or call 661-799-1999. City of Hope, the miracle of science with soul.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
From the heart of Chicago to the SCV, enjoy authentic eats from Marciano's Chicago-style deli. Marciano's house specialties include the Chicago pot pie, the Chicago dog, and Marciano's signature dubbed beef hoagie, a mouth-watering top roast slow-cooked with Marciano's secret Italian spices for 72 hours. Next to the Canyon Country Library, you don't have to travel far for the only true Chicago cuisine in the SCV. Marciano's Chicago-style deli.
KHTS, your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Marwa Kalani, who is a palliative care doctor. And now we know what a palliative care doctor is, or a group of doctors, because you aren't one person who does it.
No.
You're a whole group. And who is inclusive in that group?
The team.
Oh, well,
The team.
I have the most amazing nurses, Leah Phillips, who's actually sitting here in our lobby, who's come to visit, Victoria Yoguez, who is also one of our palliative care nurses, and we have a range of chaplains and social workers that we work very closely with. So we are quite fortunate to have a very large presence in our hospital because we have really integrated ourselves throughout the entire hospital, even down into the NICU, into the neonatal ICU. We are now really quite integrated all throughout. Emergency room, ICU, everywhere.
Well, you know, that's got to be tough.
It is tough.
Because
It
I
is.
tell you,
It is.
ICU and pediatrics, I didn't go into pediatrics because I remember, doing pediatric ICU, and it was tough.
It
was
is really tough.
I was in emergency medicine and seeing kids come in and you can't help them. They die.
It's a challenge.
And
It's a
to
challenge.
see that, each one of those children who we could not save is still a deep memory
Absolutely.
in my heart, and that kept me away from having to go into pediatrics and staying in emergency room. That's not an emotional stable life to me.
No.
So I admire you guys so much for doing NICU care and being there for our younger patients, because that to me is something I couldn't do.
It's not only just for the patients directly, but it's really about their parents and about the staff.
Absolutely.
Because the staff who are there all the time need also the support. And so we're providing that to our extended family in the hospital.
Yeah, I remember that as physicians and nurses, we really didn't, we would see trauma come in and, it affected us. I mean,
Yes.
I remember, one case that came earlier in the morning, a young girl going to school, and, she was hit by a car and she subsequently died.
Ooh.
But, it affected us, and even now for me, but for that day, we were traumatized.
Right.
By knowing what happened and knowing what we were trying to do to try to save her life and how we just couldn't.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they have that now, and palliative care helps with that, and allows us to move forward, because it's not easy when you in your profession you're seeing things that are clearly difficult things in life, and then you have to try to go home and be normal. To me, that wasn't working.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, obviously. I mean, it has to be an exceptional person to do this routinely. Fortunately, at our hospital, it's fairly uncommon. So it's nice to be able to provide that support. but like I said, it is uncommon. It maybe happens once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Really?
Yes. Because the patients are usually just kind of going through their routine and then they graduate and they move along. But the thing that actually distresses me more are geriatric traumas.
Ooh, yeah. Yep.
Geriatric traumas are the toughest situations, especially the ones. I remember we had a patient who was 104.
Ooh.
And the only thing she really suffered from is some arthritis and some anemia, pretty mild, nothing too, dramatic. And her son was driving and they got into a bad car accident.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
And this woman probably would have lived quite a while yet had it not been for that car accident. And those traumas are really also quite penetrating to a team as well, because you're seeing somebody in their functionality and doing so well and thriving, and it's interrupted so dramatically.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
ended. Oh.
Well, and car accidents, but going back to our seniors, and they're liable. They have sometimes they do fall. And
Yes.
That's
the
a
falls
huge,
are quite the more common
very
traumas
common,
that
and,
we see.
And it's we can talk about the strokes and the heart attacks and the things that really put you down, but health-wise, but there are things around the home, and that's why it's good to be able to explore and to make sure and assure that our seniors are living in a safe environment. And how we can make sure of that is by surveying the situation, making sure family members and caregivers are alerted to it. And we're doing better at that because I think
Yes.
the awareness is there. AARP and these companies, senior groups, they put out information constantly, how to make your home senior safe. We've made homes baby safe and
Yes.
child safe.
Yes,
And so
that's a
now
given.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
It's done
now we're
automatically.
learning
it
to
senior
make it
safe.
senior safe, and that is working. But that word is not out there, and that's probably a topic
We need
that
to.
we should continue to explore and write about, and make sure that corrections are made, because the last thing that certainly I want to see is one of our seniors who are doing so well slip on a throw rug that could have been either nailed down or just
Or
removed.
just taken away.
Yeah,
Yep.
that where
right.
it wouldn't have happened. But
Right.
that awareness now is better, but we're still on a almost on a daily basis we're seeing something happen in our community.
Absolutely.
So going back to palliative care, though, and that also rides into hospice care, and one of the things we really want to discuss is what is hospice care, and the difference between the two, and how our seniors need and caregivers need to be prepared for understanding the roles that hospice and palliative care play in our later life.
Absolutely. And hospice is similar to palliative care in the team approach and managing patients on a holistic basis and helping them with their pain and symptoms, emotional, psychosocial needs. But it is really focusing on the end of life process. Taking a person who is considered in their terminal phase of life and disease process, and focusing on optimizing their quality and making sure they're comfortable. So it's a lot different than palliative, because palliative focuses on trying to keep that patient thriving as best as possible, but maintaining the quality, whereas hospice really just focuses on comfort.
Absolutely.
Well, that's-
So
Yeah.
there's a nice differentiation there.
Yeah, I know my husband's brother's wife. She was in very bad shape, but she drank a lot, and that was one of the causes of some of the problems she had.
Yeah.
And when her husband passed away, we had her move up here so that we could be with her. And in fact, she used to live in the Sterling.
Sunrise Sterling.
Sunrise Sterling. Yeah, she used to live in there. And we went to visit her one afternoon, and while we were there, she fell.
Oh dear.
And no matter how, we had to call 911. We had no choice. And they brought her over here. And the doctors who saw her said that she's not really going to recover.
Yeah.
And he suggested hospice care. And it was amazing. Those noises, there was someone with her all the time, not the same person, but a lot of time. And before they really instituted it, I would stay overnight with her, sleep in the chair over there.
Oh my
But finally,
goodness.
when we had to call hospice in, that's, the doctor suggested it. But they really took good care of her. They kept her out of pain. Sure, it was with morphine, but, better have morphine than be screaming out in pain.
Well, I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I mean, if you go anywhere else in the world, morphine is a luxury. So we are kind of lucky to have access to several different types of remedies to help with our patients' discomfort. We're lucky. We're lucky.
And we hated to see her do that, receive all of that, but, rather that than screeching out in pain.
Oh no.
We couldn't do it.
No, that's not.
And we had hospice care for a little under 2 weeks. And finally, she just went to sleep. But she wasn't writhing in pain. She was relaxed, and she just drifted off to sleep. And it was heartbreaking to have her go, but at the same time, she was well taken care of, and she was out of pain.
That's beautiful.
It was wonderful, and it was over here at Henry Mayo.
So, I think a difficult part of medicine is trying to determine when someone is at a level of end of life. And I think that does come from experience and an understanding of who that patient is. Now, the difficult part right now is that in our society, your doctors are getting involved in their patient care for the very first time toward end of life. And they don't know the patient, they don't know the family, they don't know the caregivers, they don't know where the patient comes from or anything, and then these decisions are being made. And that's a tough call, and it's tough for me to see sometimes where decisions are made and sometimes they're inappropriate. But for me, my patients I typically have known for long periods of time. I think being here for 30
that's a
years,
luxury. Yeah.
it's a luxury, but was common for me to have patients from the get-go and to have them for 30 years. And I still have patients that I've had for a long time. They've grown into seniorhood. But I had, not this year, but last year, I had 5 patients, all women, all in their 90s, who were at end of life. And I recognized that, and I told family that. And we were able to keep them in their home,
Oh, that's beautiful.
in their bed,
Yeah.
with their pillow, with their mementos and everything around them and their family. And all 5 of them peacefully passed away on hospice care. This was, and it occurred over not more than 3 to 5 days for all of them. And so this is a choice, and all 5 families understood exactly what their loved one wanted. That discussion had taken place, and it was, somewhere where we wanted to take that patient to assure that they didn't suffer, they weren't in pain, they weren't uncomfortable, that they were going to be okay as they transitioned in life. So, it's a hard task, I think, being a palliative care doctor, being a hospice doctor, and then trying to guide your patient you've had for a long time, and making sure that they don't suffer and they do okay at end of life. And I think that that kind of caring and that art that is a part of all of this in terms of the medical profession is upheld. And I do unfortunately see sometimes patients where it's not being upheld. And I have problems, and I'm critical of that. But this is a time in medicine where we have growing pains, and we have to better define everything that is going on with the patient, and not allow insurance companies or hospitals or anybody else to make decisions other than that patient, and you knowing what that patient wanted, what that family wants for their loved ones. And once we get to that, once we figure out the standards and the dynamics of it, I think we'll be then providing a great service for all our patients. Right now, I think it's kind of a mixed bag in some cases and arenas, and with some insurance companies, especially HMOs. I just have problems with that. So, but I think it can be corrected, and I think we can. We're all professional people, and those who might see problems going on out there that don't seem correct, then they should contact you or me or this station and let us know if you have questions or you worry about where somebody else might be taking their loved ones, because for many it's the first time traveling that road and they need to have some guidance. And I think what we have done is given them a place to go to be able to gain that guidance to help them and their loved ones out.
I met a lovely lady yesterday at this lecture that we were doing for advanced care planning, and she has been the caregiver to her parents, one who has dementia and one who has Parkinson's. And she had been sharing her journey with her parents, and she needed a little guidance, and she was just kind of introducing it to me as, well, this is what I do, at home. And I said, well, we need to talk further because it sounds like you need a little bit more guidance. And we're always available to help anybody within our community, to help guide them through this process, because it's daunting.
Yeah, it is daunting. I know the other thing too, the person who came up with the idea of in-home care, oh my goodness, what a lifesaver.
I know.
And I don't know who's got it started first, but it was wonderful because my husband had a mini stroke and was in the hospital and then came home, and I thought, do I have to stay up 24 hours a day?
Yeah, that's too much.
To make sure that everything's okay? And so, option one was called, and they sent over a nurse who assessed the situation, and I was able to get someone to come in from 10 in the morning to 10 at night to 7 in the morning, so I could get a decent night's sleep. And it's wonderful, absolutely is. And I've had to call on someone on different occasions, and when I went away this past weekend, I was able to call someone to come in and fix his food and make sure everything was okay.
I guess that's one of the things we should think about, like an Uber service for home care. That would be awesome. Being able to call somebody on the spot, that would be fun.
Yeah. And I think we have personnel to be able to do that, but the level of and the standards are not yet set. Where
we need to,
for home care. And I will tell you, at our hospital here in Santa Clarita, we have tremendous nurses and CNAs who have been so well trained and know what they're doing. But when sometimes you go out into the community, it drops off.
Yeah, you don't know what you're getting. It's a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. So yeah, I'd like to be able to snap my fingers and say, let's get in here and let's get these folks, but I want them to be at a certain standard and be able to take care of our patients and loved ones the way we know they should be cared for.
Well, it's interesting. When I first needed someone to come in, I went to the senior center to see if they had a recommendation.
Oh, great
and
idea.
they did. Tracy Strand. And interestingly enough, she and her husband own and run a home care service.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And she was more, and she's in school as I think she's a teacher's aide or something like that. And of course, Russ was in the school business for 37 years. So she is delighted to come over because she just pulls all kinds of information out of Russ because he was a school principal for 37 years.
Isn't that something?
All over California and here. And so she just delights when I call her. Hey, Tracy, I need some time for you to come over so I can get away. And she said she was delighted. And every time I come home, there's always a wonderful little note from her saying how much she enjoyed talking with Russ and taking care of things. And I had to call her and remind her, if, before she goes off, cover up my bird feeder for me, please. It's outside. because the sprinklers
Yes.
just soak it to death,
Right.
so.
Right.
And it's wooden.
Oh, yes.
So, but anyway, I think we need to take another break, don't we? I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
I've been into cars ever since I was 6 years old. I helped my dad build race cars in our driveway.
Dave Reeves, owner of Reeves Complete Auto Center.
I love cars. I've been in automotive service my whole life. I ran my dad's wrecking yard and rear-end shop, managed several auto repairs until I opened my own auto repair facility.
Reeves, on Ruther in Canyon Country.
I learned customer service and honest communication make the difference.
Reeves, your complete auto service center.
Call Reeves at 252-1400.
Do you like to rock across Africa?
Then the wait is over.
Africa Rocks! Africa's Greatest Hits is now available at the San Diego Zoo!
Who could forget 99 red baboons? Or the African-crested porcupine smash hit, I Got Quills to Pay the Bills! Hey, don't get too close.
And the hits keep on coming!
Africa Rocks has all your favorites from 6 different African habitats.
Hungry like a leopard!
Ibex is back!
Harder, better, Fossa stronger!
And a new track from Kendrick Lemur!
Now, Larry.
Yes, Chuck?
A collection of this magnitude, I'd fly to Africa!
Well, don't pack your bags, friend. Africa Rocks is only available right here at the San Diego Zoo.
Wow, that really does rock.
No, it Africa Rocks.
Welcome to Africa Rocks at the San Diego Zoo. Rolling out July 1st. Stay late now through Labor Day at Nighttime Zoo. Presented by your San Diego County Toyota dealers.
Are you looking for unique gifts and home decor plus the latest in women's fashions? Look no further than Santa Clarita's favorite destination store, Cobblestone Cottage. You'll find 4,000 square feet filled with everything that makes a woman's heart go a-flutter. They are a nationally recognized Brighton Heart store carrying handbags, jewelry and footwear. You will find other top lines such as Vera Bradley and Pandora. Cobblestone Cottage in the River Oaks Shopping Center by Target. Log on to cobblestone-cottage.com.
Olive Terrace Bar and Grill is the hottest new Mediterranean fusion restaurant in Santa Clarita with unique delicacies like seafood right off the boat, mouth-watering prime steaks, artesian sandwiches, delicious pastas, and tasty kebabs. Unwind on their cozy outdoor patio at their weekend champagne brunch, full menu, and weekly specials at oliveterracebarandgrill.com. Check out their full bar and happy hour daily specials in Valencia on Copper Hill and Newhall Ranch Road by LA Fitness. Olive Terrace Bar and Grill, delicious food seasoned with love.
KHTS. Will need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Mara Kalani, a palliative care doctor. And wow, have we covered a lot.
We sure have. Oh, my goodness.
We were going to talk about something. What was it? I have short-term memory or long-term memory or...
You might
I'm
be in
getting
need
older.
of palliative care.
No, I don't think you qualify, Barbara. You seem quite...
With it.
With it.
Well, hopefully I can keep it up.
You're doing great.
Now, we were going to talk about something after the break. Does anybody remember what it was?
Well, I think we have kind of done the full gamut here because trying to define palliative and hospice care for society is, it's difficult, even for physicians to truly understand, how it is defined. But the takeaway from this discussion has to be exactly that. A discussion needs to take place with family members, patients, doctors, legal people at some point in life that's early and not too late.
Right.
And by doing that, you will be prepared for later in life. You will be able to then make your decisions affect how your life will be at end of life. And, that's the big thing now that I think we have given our patients in our society, that it's not a death panel. It's not people saying this is what you have to do and where you have to go with life. It's a educated understanding of what medical technology does and does not do. But all of us know that we are going to die. And I think the fear becomes in our seniors is, how does that occur? And the majority of people say, I just don't want to suffer. And we can do that for you through palliative and hospice care, understanding where your wants and needs, what we have to give you, and what we can give you at the end. But if we have that discussion, we can express that. And we need to do that, don't we, Mawa?
Absolutely. And what is important is that you must have these conversations with your family. So if there's anything you take away from this program this hour, is have conversation with your family about the things that are important to you, what you value, and the things you want to see happen to you when you're in that situation, and share it. Share it as much as possible. Share it with your physician. Share it with your estate attorney, with your friends.
Don't be afraid to talk about it.
And one other thing too, if you possibly can, make your arrangements for your burial and that kind of thing. I know that might sound morbid, but I think seniors need to do that.
Yeah, that's our next show, I think.
Okay.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Mawa
Yes.
Kalani, palliative care physician from Holy Cross. We appreciate your being here. We are sponsored by Advanced Audiology and Comfort Keepers in-Home Care. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.
Yes.